much. Hello everybody. Really great to see you all today. Hopefully you had a really great lunch. And so, yeah, I'll get started. As Beej had introduced me, I'll kind of go through a bit of those things, but then go into a bit more depth as well. So my name is Kedijah Eaves-O'Connor, and I'm a project manager at Students Organising for Sustainability, SOS-UK. And I'm so delighted to be speaking to you today about the important role that education plays in creating a more just and sustainable future. So SOS-UK is a student-centred education charity which focuses on sustainability. And we run a range of programmes to create positive change through student and staff action for sustainability, as well as national and international systems change campaigns to deliver long-lasting shifts towards climate justice. So our campaigns are student-led, with SOS-UK acting as a support crew to young people calling for change to ensure that education is equipping them with what they need to be part of the positive transformation in the face of the climate and ecological crisis as well. So radical shifts across society are urgently needed to tackle the injustices and unsustainability in our world. And we strongly believe that education is an essential part of bringing about that change. So through our work, we have three main aims. The first is for students to lead on and act for and learn about sustainability. So when students take lead on sustainability, they develop the knowledge, value, skills, and competencies required to make great sustainability leaders. Second, we want to see an education system that is repurposed around the climate emergency and ecological crisis. We believe that sustainability should be woven through every subject like a golden thread, and every student should be a sustainability student, no matter what they study. Sustainability must be liberated from specific subject silos and integrated throughout all aspects of learning in a way that is relevant and meaningful to students, not using a one-size-fits-all approach. Last, but certainly by no means least, we want sustainability to be more inclusive so that it is for everyone. Research has shown us that the environmental sector is the second least diverse sector in the UK after farming. We strongly believe in the importance of having a diverse range of voices within the sector to make our approach to sustainability fit for purpose for everyone. So the impacts of climate change disproportionately affects underrepresented and marginalised groups, both here in the UK and across the globe as well. We need to ensure that those most implicated by the climate and ecological crisis are a part of the solution. So today I'd like to share four main things with you. So firstly, my personal journey into sustainability. Secondly, why climate justice is important for education in the context of sustainability. Thirdly is for SOS-UK's understanding of student perceptions and expectations around climate and sustainability in education. And then lastly is a call to action, so kind of discussing how sustainability learning can be embedded through a process of co-creation alongside students. So let's go into the first part, which is my journey into sustainability. So I always enjoyed being outdoors and exploring nature from a very young age. My family and I frequently travelled to the Peak District, Skegness, Norfolk, and also down to Devon and Cornwall as well. So I have very fond memories of being surrounded by nature as a child. However, it wasn't until I started studying the environment in detail at university that I truly realised how important it was for me to start advocating for a more just and sustainable world. So I initially started studying geography, but then I moved to Manchester Metropolitan University to study environmental science instead. So geography was more holistic, whereas environmental science for me really allowed me to explore the physical environment in a lot more detail, which I enjoyed. So I was really fascinated by the intricacies of the many aspects of the environment that we take for granted, such as the air that we breathe and the soil that grows our food. I absolutely loved my degree. I had hands-on experience within a lab space where I was able to test soil, water, and air samples. I also gained a deeper understanding of the severe impacts of climate change in different areas of society through various modules that I studied, such as sustainable production and consumption, environmental risk management, and aviation and its environmental impact. And we went on many exciting field trips as well, from Wales to Liverpool to exploring the beautiful black volcanic beaches of Tenerife as well. So while studying, I took part in the Carbon Literacy Project, a program which teaches the basics of climate science, the impacts of climate change, and what can be done to reduce those impacts. So participants are encouraged to make pledges, which is a type of declaration to state how they will actively reduce their carbon footprint in both individual and group basis. So I completed the training myself to become carbon literate, and then I took part in the Train the Trainer course, and I became a certified carbon literacy trainer. And this is really where my passion for climate education and education for sustainable development really grew. The power of education to influence both positive and negative outcomes for the environment and society was highlighted not only by the Carbon Literacy Project, but also by the fascinating things that I was learning through my degree program. I then decided to study a master's degree straight afterwards in environmental leadership and management at the University of Nottingham, which is in my hometown. So I chose to study environmental leadership in particular, as I knew it would give me specialist knowledge to tackle the complex environmental challenges that we are currently facing. I also developed my own personal leadership skills through the Level 5 professional qualification in leadership and management, which has been invaluable in my position as a project manager and also in my personal life. I completed the degree during the pandemic, so that was a feat in itself. And my dissertation investigated the extent of environmental education delivered at the University of Nottingham and the potential to bring about social adaptation as a result. And I found that there was very little coverage of environmental issues or sustainability as subjects which were not directly related to the environment. This was not shocking to me, but I equally found it quite disheartening, as I am passionate about the importance of all students engaging with and learning about sustainability and climate change. For me, my primary and secondary education in general did not cover environmental issues as much as they should have. Though I did study geography at A-level whilst at college and learned about climate change, I didn't know that environmental science or other similar subjects was something that you could study until I was actually at university. So my wish is for future cohorts of students, be it in primary, secondary, college, university, or wherever else, is that environmental education will be so deeply embedded into the curriculum that it becomes normalized. It would be normal to learn about sustainability in a history class. It would be normal to learn about climate change in a mathematics class. It would be normal to learn about climate justice in an economics and politics class. My wish is for future cohorts of students to be directed to accessible opportunities that are available to them in the environmental field, whether it's through an extracurricular activity, a placement, an apprenticeship, or a degree course. The younger generation are our future leaders, so they need quality and effective environmental education right now. So why is climate justice so important to education in the context of sustainability? So just as I mentioned in my own personal experience of this, the environment, climate, sustainability and conservation sector is one of the least diverse in the UK. I actually felt the impact of this before I officially entered the sector career-wise. Whilst I was applying to study environmental science at Manchester, I remember feeling quite apprehensive, and not for the typical reasons such as moving to a different city or making new friends. For me, it was daunting knowing that the students on the course were highly likely to be predominantly white, which was certainly the case. I was accompanied by 2 other black women, which was really great, where it didn't detract from the very obvious fact that we were 3 out of 30. It was my experience being the minority in both my degree courses and then working in the sector that I realized that something has to change. I was motivated to continue being in admittedly uncomfortable spaces because, to me, representation is highly important. I strongly believe that people of colour who have a passion for the environment but have continually felt unwelcomed will see me and feel they are able to join the sector themselves. So as a black woman working in sustainability, I can clearly see how unrepresentative the sector is, but I don't let this push me away from it. I'm incredibly passionate about advocating for those voices that have been quieted throughout history. As a collective, we must try harder to become more representative of the communities that we are working to serve. This is a key reason why climate justice is an essential aspect of education for sustainable development. So since working for SOS-UK, I've been able to gain a deeper understanding of the injustices of climate change and the importance of realising climate justice. So much of the root causes of such injustices come down to historic systems of oppression that have been imposed on certain communities, populations, and regions. So the most vulnerable and marginalised communities are already experiencing the impacts of the climate crisis, both globally and right here in the UK. So when we experience extreme weather events as a result of climate change, people of colour, women, disabled, and LGBTQ+ people are all at greater risk of harm. This is because of the wider inequalities in society that mean that these groups are typically more at risk and vulnerable. So the COVID-19 pandemic perfectly demonstrates this. Although the disease was theoretically not any more deadly for certain ethnic groups, in the UK, people who identified as Black African had a death rate from COVID 3.7 times greater than white British males and 2.6 greater than white British females. The increased number of coronavirus cases and, sadly, deaths in the Black, Asian, and ethnic minority communities mirrors the inequalities already so prevalent across the country. Similarly, the catastrophic effects of the climate breakdown, such as flooding, heat waves, drought, wildfires, and rising sea levels, are exacerbated by racial and gender inequalities. This has been the case for some time and will only get worse as the crisis intensifies. So, for example, when the devastation of Hurricane Katrina hit the USA back in 2005, Black women were disproportionately affected. During the severe heat wave across Europe back in 2003, many more women died than men. More recently, the heat waves on the west coast of North America in summer 2021 saw a disproportionately high rate of older and disabled people die as a result of extreme heat, in part due to an inability to relocate to cooler locations or afford air conditioning. So this injustice experienced on a global scale, despite the fact that countries who are most severely impacted are countries that have done the least to contribute to the climate crisis. Countries in the global south are at a greater risk of climate vulnerabilities due to their limited financial and infrastructural capabilities to respond to the climate crisis. These inequalities are in many parts the legacy of colonialism and imposing the model of Western imperialism on nations globally. So if you consider historical per capita emissions, the UK actually has the greatest single responsibility for the climate crisis. And a poem by Damien Barr really helps to visualize this perfectly. So we are all in the same storm, which is the climate crisis, but our varying privileges mean that we are facing that storm in different boats. So some are able to avoid the worst effects by having super yachts, while some may only have just one tiny oar. And we believe that education is an integral tool for improving equity in society. And this is true as well for solving the climate crisis. So we need to see climate change and sustainability education woven through all areas of the education curriculum, not just those subjects typically associated with sustainability. We need to move sustainability from being a niche subject that only some students learn about to being a golden thread throughout the whole of the student learning experience. So our vision at SOS-UK is to see all students becoming sustainability students, who are in turn sustainable citizens, so they have the potential to contribute to a more just and sustainable future in both their personal and professional lives. And students must also understand not only the science of climate change, but also the root causes of various intersecting crises that we face. The injustices of climate change are not only the symptoms of the crisis, they are the cause. It is important to identify how such systems operate in order to avoid replicating these in the process of attempting to drive forward solutions. Otherwise, we risk continuing to reinforce systems of oppression with a green lens. So we must support students to imagine a future in which the solutions to the climate crisis also serve to improve the livelihoods of society's most vulnerable people. Through students' education, we would explore questions such as, how could we build communities that have high quality housing for everyone that also helps us to reach net zero carbon emissions? How can we design transportation systems that give everyone access to low carbon, free, accessible travel? How can we create food systems that ensure all children have nutritious, affordable meals that are aligned with the needs of the natural world? And how can we decarbonize our energy systems whilst lowering the cost of fuel and ending the cost of living crisis that will harm so many people this winter? So it's through a lens of climate justice that we can most meaningfully engage young people in understanding the complexities of these problems we face across society, and also equip them with the knowledge that they need in order to solve them. So young people today must develop those skills for the green jobs of the future. There is enormous growth in the demand for workers in green jobs, and yet many young people are not leaving education with a skill set to get these roles. So we recently became youth partners of the Green Jobs for Youth Pact, announced at COP27 in Egypt 2 weeks ago. This was led by the International Labour Organization, UNICEF, and the United Nations Environment Programme. The pact will work with countries all over the world to create 1 million new green jobs and green 1 million more, serving to tackle the youth and underemployment whilst fueling a green transition to the workforce. These sorts of skills young people need to include things which I think many of you in this room would love to see developed through the education system. Things such as strong communication skills, systems thinking, teamwork, intercultural communication, understanding different perspectives, the ability to challenge one's own assumptions, and many more. We also need to ensure that students are developing the technical skills for the green economy, from buildings to energy systems, finance and business, to transportation systems and food production through to logistics. We need learners to be leaving education ready to transform these aspects of society. So it's not just about what students learn, it's how they learn as well. The sort of methods that really lend themselves to climate education are things such as demonstrations, hands-on learning, debate and discussion, using prompts and provocations, community-based learning, and bringing in real-world examples. We know that these sorts of methods also tend to better serve a more diverse range of learners than learning by rote and only being assessed through examinations. Similarly, we know educators love having this sort of creativity and autonomy in the classroom. So I fundamentally believe that we can transform our education system to ensure that all learners are better equipped to face the challenges ahead, to solve the climate crisis and ecological emergency, and in doing so, create an education environment that better serves educators and students alike. So in the face of global catastrophe, we are presented with an opportunity to fundamentally reform the economic and social structures of our society. And to achieve this, we need to bring all of society with us. So it's only through such an enormous existential threat that we can drive the reforms we want to see. At the forefront of these reforms must be education. It is time for our education system to respond to the urgency of the climate crisis. And you know what? We know radical reform in the face of such a crisis is possible. We have demonstrated this across the education sector over the past 2 years in response to COVID. So this change must happen, for what is the purpose of education if not to create a better future for all? So thirdly is to go into SOS-UK's understanding of student perspectives and their demands. So this isn't just a vision of SOS-UK's. We know that students are increasingly concerned about climate change, and we know that they want their education to equip them with the knowledge and skills to do something about it. So since 2014, we have been asking students from across the tertiary education sector how concerned, if at all, they are about climate change. In March 2019, this concern rose all the way up to 91%. And those students reflected a very similar trend to that of the UK public. So with knowledge that such a high proportion of students are concerned about climate change, we need to avoid them facing overwhelming levels of eco-anxiety by using education as a tool to support them in becoming agents for change. Concern about climate change also matches demand. So we know that students want to learn about sustainability, and they want this to happen in a way that is made relevant to their programs of study, so they can apply their learning meaningfully to their personal and professional lives. So from our sustainability skills survey conducted last year, 84% of students stated that they want sustainability to be actively incorporated in their courses. Many of their motivations for this are to make a difference to their collective future and for their career aspirations as well. One student said that it is our duty to ensure future generations have a suitable world to live in. To do this, we must be equipped with the correct knowledge and information. So there are many ways that students want to learn about sustainability. Students have highlighted the most relevant ways are through applied learning opportunities as well, such as placements. And students want climate education to be relevant and embedded, and not just an add-on to the course. So now I'll be talking through the last section, which is a call to action. So why and how we need to embed sustainability into learning. So further education is a critical space for creating societal change. There is a quote from Charles Hopkins, who is the UNESCO chair, who states that 80% of world leaders have been through higher education, whilst only 6% of the world's population actually go to university. So this highlights the point that education transformation needs to happen across the board. It needs to happen at school level and in further education to ensure that all citizens realise their roles for contributing to a better future. More students go through further education than higher education, making it a critical area for effective education for sustainable development. We need our media students, apprentices, business students, and those applying to the arts. The list goes on. We need them all to recognise that they have a part to play in addressing the climate crisis. They also need to be equipped with the skills and competency to respond to those very real challenges that we are facing in the face of the climate crisis within our lifetimes. So this is a call to action for embedding sustainability holistically across the entire student learning experience. Through conscious understanding of the interconnectedness of justice and the climate crisis, we have the potential to deliver on climate justice and therefore a better future for all. So in order to achieve the change that is required to address the systemic inequalities associated with the climate and ecological crisis, and to deliver the scale of change needed for positive climate action, our education needs to ensure every learner is equipped with the best possible chance of being a part of the solution. In doing so, the aspiration is that every learner has potential to contribute to a brighter, happier future for themselves and for all. So as I had previously mentioned as well, education for sustainable development focuses not just on what is taught, but also how things are taught. So in order to effectively transform the education system, we need to address the systemic issues it has perpetuated by decolonising, decarbonising, and democratising learning. So this approach is necessary for systems change and ultimately climate justice. So this is the section where I'd really like you to get involved with. It's a bit more interactive. So what I'll do is put onto the screen a Slido. Hopefully you've heard of Slido before, but if you haven't, it's just a bit of tech which helps to kind of see, oh, it's not coming up. But it helps to kind of see everything that everyone's contributing to. So you can use your phone and it will come up with a range of different questions and then you'll be able to interact with that. Just maybe a second whilst we try and get this onto the screen. Okay, so it's working. So I would like to start by, you can access Slido, just put in slido.com, or you can scan the QR code which is on there. So it's 4075254 for the code that you can put on there. So a question should come up, and the question is, what is your current level of understanding on decarbonising education? So it goes from 1 to just beginning, all the way through to 5 of having a good, strong understanding. So it'd be really great to kind of just see where people are at, what their understanding is of decarbonising education. You can really see that going up and down there. So most people are just beginning, so it's great to see. give it a couple of more seconds whilst people are logging on. Okay, so it looks as though most people are just starting out, which is good. That's something that we can explore a bit more as well. We've got a good range of here, actually. Great. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the next one. So this one is, how would you define decarbonising education? And don't worry if you are just starting out. That's fine, but you can just put what do you think it would be? How would you describe it? And then everyone's ideas should come up on here. So we've got being more efficient, we've got reduction in carbon footprint, don't know, help. I'll be going through it, don't worry. Go paperless, reduce the carbon footprint of students and staff, decrease the carbon footprint, yes. Raising awareness about consequences of fossil dependence, yeah. Really great stuff here. Set new priorities within the curriculum, definitely unclear. Hopefully it'll be more clear once we go through it. Maximising understanding and minimising impacts in terms of environmental concerns, that's great. Sustainability, yeah. Reducing the impact of education on the environment. Yeah, reducing carbon footprint. Yeah, definitely. I think that one kind of says it in itself as well. ESD in the curriculum, yeah. I don't know, sorry, that's fine. That's fine, we'll go through it. I think what most people have said about ESD in the curriculum and reducing our reliance on fossil fuels is definitely a big one for that. Ensuring we're using education as a way of driving wider societal change whilst running our education systems as efficiently as possible, yes. Focus on curriculum, estates, business planning, yeah. Really great. Identify how all areas of work impact on the environment, yes. Okay, really great ideas here. I think hopefully it's helpful for you to see what other people are seeing as well and what they're putting and their understanding of that as well. Embedding decarbonisation in the curriculum, yes. Okay, great. So now I'm going to go on to the next term. So we had decarbonising, so the next one is decolonising. So what is your current level of understanding of decolonising education? Can really see that moving up and down. So most people are just beginning as well. Let's give you a couple more minutes, seconds. Okay, great. So yeah, we're just beginning. That's great to see as well. So hopefully this talk will help to kind of solidify that and be a really good starting point for you as well, to give you those ideas on how it is and how it's defined. So off the back of that, just how we just did, is how would you define decolonising education? Doesn't matter if you don't know what actual definition is, but what is your understanding of seeing it there, especially based off the answers that we saw from decarbonising as well. How would you define decolonising education? Celebrating and deriving knowledge from the variety of backgrounds, yes. Don't know. Googling it. That's okay. Not sure. Ensuring. Yeah, that one's great. It went too fast, but I read that. Flipped learning, yeah. Reducing focus on colonial history in education, yeah. Move out of a Western focused approach in education. Definitely. Drawing on a diverse range of resources, yes. Equality and inclusivity. Ensuring accurate representation, inclusive. Yeah, a lot of people say inclusive, which is definitely a big part of that, for sure. Embedding equality and diversity, making education fully inclusive, yes. Yeah, great. Recognizing the impact of colonization. That is definitely a big part of decolonizing, for sure. Ensuring the curriculum is not biased in favor of white culture, often omitting contributions of others. Yes, definitely. Yeah, these are great. Removing the bias towards traditional historic content to better reflect current knowledge and expertise. Yes. Showing the legacy of colonialism in subjects. Yeah, that's great. These are really good. And a lot of these are very accurate as well. So if you are just starting out as well, seeing these definitions that other people across the room have put in are really great starting points too. Unconscious bias, I like that. That's really great. Reflecting what the society is really made of. Yeah. Representing the untold narrative. Some really great points here. Thank you for contributing. So the last one that I've got, well, second to last one, is what is your current level of understanding on democratizing education? So this one might be a little bit difficult. I found this one a bit difficult to wrap my head around at first, but yeah, what is your current level of understanding of democratizing education? Okay, so I think we're a bit higher on the just beginning on that one than the others. See, but a couple more seconds. Okay, so I think most people are just beginning with that. So how would you then define democratizing education? I mean, you could Google it if you'd like to. But of course I will go through it. Don't know, that's fine. Love the honesty. Giving learners the choice, yeah, Googling it again. Thanks. Leveling the playing field, interesting. EDI, yeah. Yeah, allowing students to self-lead learning, that is a great point, thank you. Prioritizing learner voice and ownership, that's exactly, yeah. Allowing learners to voice opinion and feedback, brilliant. Accessible to all. Students have a say in designing the content of the educational, sorry, it went off. Yeah, voice given to learners. Students are able to make their own choices, yeah. Involving more voices in determining the curriculum, yeah, brilliant. Co-design, I like that one. Co-designing. Yeah, this is really great. Showing education is shaped by diverse voices who are seen as equal partners in defining what, how, where, and when, and with whom education is delivered. Great. Is that a Google one? But that sounds good. Co-production, definitely. Great. So hopefully it's just been helpful for you to kind of see those different terms that are on there, kind of read through our definitions and understanding of those things, but I just wanted to really put a bit of interactive things on there just to see what other people are thinking in the room as well. So thank you very much for contributing, everybody. So I'll come off this and then I'll just continue with the rest of the talk. So hopefully this will work when I take that off. Okay, so the first one that we had was decarbonising. So at SOS-UK, we believe that decarbonising our education systems means transforming how, what, and where we learn so that education sufficiently addresses and prepares students for the climate crisis and the ecological emergency. So that means that our institutions need to model sustainability in our curricula, and it also must equip students with the knowledge, skills, and attributes to tackle the reformation of our currently carbon-intense economic system. So furthermore, it means thinking critically and challenging the influence of corporations, such as fossil fuel companies, in our research, funding, and sponsorship as well. So the next one was decolonizing. So we understand understand it as recognising the root causes of an education system that currently perpetuates inequalities as a result of colonialism. So this has shaped the way that we think, our education system, and also the curriculum as well, which quite a few of you had mentioned on the Slido as well. So symptoms of colonised education can include an absence of academics who are not racialised as white, Eurocentric reading lists, and the glorification of thinkers whose work is rooted in colonialist views. So it is then black students, for example, who are unsurprisingly the first to feel the effects of colonised education, finding themselves underrepresented and understimulated by the content of their curricula. So then we also encourage the democratizing of education. So this one connects deeply with engaging students as partners in their learning experience in order to ensure that our education system is equipping learners with the capabilities to contribute to just and sustainable future. And our education institutions also need to practice this. So we advocate for practices in education institutions whereby students and learners are engaged to co-create curricular transformation and change, and not merely be recipients of knowledge, information, and skills. So there are huge amounts of resources out there to support educator knowledge and understanding for embedding sustainability in learning. So we actually have a resource, the A to Z of sustainability, from art to zoology, sharing examples from a breadth of disciplines where sustainability has been embedded. So every year we run an annual Sustainable Development Goals teach-in. So this isn't the solution, but it's a really great chance to join other educators in giving it a go at integrating sustainability into their teaching. So we'll get involved for 2023, as we'll be doing that throughout the whole month of March. So as I said at the beginning, we support students to take lead on systems change campaigns related to climate, sustainability, and education. So please do let your students know that they can get involved with campaigns that we host, such as Teach the Future, Mock Up, and our divestment campaigns as well. So we run a range of other programs and support packages and workshops to support educators and students to transform learning by embedding sustainability. But this is not a sales pitch, so please do check out our website or chat to me later if you want to hear more about what we do and how we can support you with that. So just to close, I'd like to reinforce the urgency of this. So we can't run away from the climate and ecological crisis. With every problem we face, there is potential to see opportunity. So please listen to the call for change from the youth and students. So it is their future, and if we transform our education with them as partners in the process, we have the chance to create a radical shift for both people and planet. So thank you very much for listening to me today, everybody. Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much, Kedijah.